Dion Bickham with CBR. Super excited to be here at San Diego Comic-Con 2022, and I have a very, very special guest with me. If you've read any DC comic over the past 10 years, you know this gentleman. He's worked on Dark Knight's Metal. He's worked on Batman. He's worked on Justice League, Superman Unchained. He got an Eisner Award for American Vampire, and now he's working on a series of Comixology exclusives. I have with me today Scott Snyder. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, Dion. It's so nice to see you again, man. I'm happy to be back and excited. It's Sunday, so I feel like I left a small piece of my soul in the carpet, but I'm here and ready to go.
Man, you have had just this extensive career doing all this work for DC, but you're now branching off into your own thing for Comixology. Let's talk a little bit about those titles. I know you've already done We Have Demons. Yeah. I love that series. What can you tell us about that?
Thank you. Yeah, well, the whole idea, I love being at DC, and I love working on licensed characters and these iconic figures that I grew up loving and so many other people have such passion for. But after 10 years, I really wanted to go out there and sort of try a different project. There's so many ideas in my head, so many stories that I just didn't have time to do at DC. Every year I would fight to get a carve out in my contract to be able to do independent work, and I just never had time. I rarely got to do it. So this time I wanted to kind of come out of DC and instead work with all these creators I've wanted to, some of whom are old friends and longtime partners like Greg Capullo and We Have Demons and Francesco Francavilla and Francis Manipul and others who I've never worked with before but are people who inspire me like Tula Lotay, Dan Panosian, and Jamal Igle on this wave. And so I went to Comixology because I had heard they were doing an originals line, and I also heard they were doing a deal with Dark Horse so that initially the books would come out in digital form, and then you could read basically everything there for a subscription price of one comic a month. And then eventually they'd come out in print from Dark Horse as, single issues, but beautifully bound with extra content, all of this stuff. And, the pandemic really made me, and I think a lot of creators, reevaluate who we want to be in the industry and things that we think we could do, both creatively for ourselves, to be exciting, to ourselves, and also to help the industry in ways that we feel will strengthen the things that need strengthening, try new lanes that could be developed. And I really believe, watching my kids, that maybe not the whole comic industry, but there's room for a good space that has a digital first mentality. For a long time, I feel like we've always kind of been held to this competitive relationship between print and digital, right? So if you want to get Batman's the same exact content, same exact price, comes out at the same time from both things. But, so then you have to choose. But if you could browse Batman, and then the Batman that came out in the stores had the script, had this, had that, it might not be right for that particular series. But what I'm saying is, I think there's a big zone there that can be created that would invite in new readers that can't necessarily afford, kids, for example, the price of, the constant print comics, that want to browse and explore the way they do with manga, the way they do with basically everything in their lives from Spotify. You browse and then you get the vinyl. Like my 15-year-old has it's all into that. So it was really exciting to me on a number of levels to go there and do these things. And then they were great about saying, what kind of books do you want to do? And I was like, all of them. I want to do a horror book and a Western and this and just everything we can. And so I lucked out. I've got great partners. The first book we did, like you said, was We Have Demons. It was a blast. It was Greg Capullo and our longtime pal who's inked all of our, basically all of our Batman, John Glapian and Dave McCaig from American Vampire Coloring. And it's about a girl who discovers that her father secretly was a demon hunter, and she gets kind of thrown into this millennial-old battle between good and evil and discovers all these cool things about secret 1,000 blades that will light up when all this stuff. So anyway, there's that. And then, there are the two other books I did with that. So that wave was was in October of last year. And then the second wave of books, like books 4, 5, and 6, just launched this week. And they're a little bit more things you might not have seen from me or expect. And I'm working with Tula Lotay, who is a friend and also an amazing artist, on a historical fiction adventure called Barnstormers, about a pilot and an unlikely passenger and a kind of crime spree they go on. I'm working on a really dark Western with Dan Panosian called Canary, about a collapsed mine with secrets under it that speak to, I think, a lot of today's anxieties. And then I'm also doing Dudley Dodson and the Forever Machine, which is an all ages kind of cosmic adventure with Jamal Igle, who's incredible, and about a young inventor who discovers a mythical machine created by the inventor Daedalus and gets him, kind of chased by everyone in the world to get it. So they're totally different kinds of books, and it's such an exciting thing to be able to just, make things without any kind of creative limit, and also say to fans, you can get all of them for just, the price of one, and just see what you like, And the other thing, and I'll shut up because I feel like you wind me up and I'll just keep going about it, but I think is that I'm excited that you go see our books and you have access to all the things that made so many of the writers and artists that made me want to write, and brand new people coming up on Comixology that are part of that program. So you can come see our stuff, find other people that are way better than me as writers and great artists, and fall in love with comics all over again,
So would you say that these are essentially dream projects for you?
Yeah, they really are. I mean, each one is really personal. And the way that I built each of them was like this, right? So one of the books is, like I said, it's Barnstormer, right? So that's about a period that I've always been fascinated with, because it's right after World War I. It has a lot of similarities to now, where there was a big pandemic right before. There's a moment of kind of odd stability after a lot of tumult, and people are really scared about what's going to come on the other side. And yet, rich people are kind of partying in the roaring 20s and all this stuff. Young people are really frightened, And barnstorming, young men would come back from the war and buy their decommissioned planes and go and do these amazing like daredevil stunts, loop-to-loops, and jump from wing to wing. And so what I do is I'll go to Lisa, Abtula Lotte, that's her, Lisa's her natural name, and say, listen, I have this idea. It's about what I just told you. What do you think? And she'll say, she said, I love it. It makes me think of these things. And I say, great. Well, the main character I was thinking is someone who's pretending to actually be a pilot, who's actually an escaped mental patient because of this. And she's like, I love it because of this. And I'm like, what do you think, the woman who picks up, what if she's like, well, she gives ideas and does some designs. The point I'm trying to make is that each of the books, the dream project was like a kernel of an idea. But the real dream aspect of it is getting to build something from the ground up with another creator. So that's why I feel like I used to come to this con and really worry sometimes about what people are really going to like what we're doing with Batman or that. And for, because they care about those characters as much as we do and know that mythology. These, because we're building them from scratch together, like me and another creator, and it's the things they're thinking about, worrying about, hoping for, and the things I feel that way about. I don't worry about it because I love the books, because they're just so us that people might not like every one, but I'm so proud of each one, and they're all special in their own right. So it's just this time of real creative exploration for me. I don't feel stressed, even though I have more work than I should. I feel really happy, and it's been a great con for that reason. It's just been able to go around celebrating our projects, and then I see so many creators that I love trying new things the way we are, because coming out of the pandemic, they just want to be doing things that feel like life's too short. You know what I mean? Like, let's just do the things that mean something to us.
Which one of your Comixology originals have you enjoyed the most?
Oh, they're like my children. I couldn't do that. But I'll say that they're each really different. Like, the fun thing is each one, like, for example, Canary is about this mine that collapsed long ago, and this guy is hired to investigate why these odd murders. This U.S. Marshal is called out to this territory, why these extremely violent random murders are happening around this collapsed mine site, right? For that one, I go to Dan and I say, we develop the story together, like I said I did with Barnstormer, and then I say, how do you like to write? I mean, how do you like to draw? And he'll say, you know what, I like to get on the phone, wrangle it out, talk the story, give me a really loose outline, let me go through it, great. So for that book, that's how I write. For the book with Jamal, who really likes to have a tighter script in a lot of ways, I'll go in and we'll talk about it, and then I go in and I write it really differently. So the answer I'm trying to give is that each one is so different in the process of making it and in the spirit of it, and it's so it's none of them are like, I went around and I was like, I got a pitch for a book about a mythical machine that'll open portals. And Jamal, can you do it? No, you can't. Or Jim Lee, can you do it? No, you can't. Greg Capullo, can you do it? No, you can't. Oh, Jamal, will you do it? It was no one saw these projects except the people working on them because they were my co-creators in every form. Like they built. So that's why I can't pick a favorite because each one is like its own little planet we live on together and just have a blast,
These first issues, like I've read the first issues of pretty much all of your originals, and they're really, really good. And yeah, and they pull the reader in and they leave you with a little something to make you want to come back for more. I want to specifically ask you about Dudley Dodson because I just love that. I love that first issue. What was the inspiration behind creating this character, this lovable character who just can't seem to get it right as far as with his project?
That's a great question. I mean, what it really was Jamal and I have been friends a long time. Jamal was one of the first people who was really kind to me when I came into comics and knew nobody. I did a signing at the old Jim Hanley's Universe in New York City. And it was me, him, and Stefan Roux, and they knew each other, and they were all big. He was a big star, and I had nothing. It was like, I don't even think I had like an issue of American Band. I don't even know why I was there. But they put me there, and I had like nothing to sign. And Jamal came over, hey, you from the city? Oh, you're American Comics. You gotta meet everybody. It was so nice. So our friendship has existed a long time. And we know, I know about his family, his kids, he knows about mine, and we've hung out. And so where it came from was talking about having kids growing up in a really difficult moment when it feels less optimistic than it did when we were coming up, and how hard it is to look and say to them, that there are ways through this, and maybe things will be better on the other side. And so it developed into this thing where we were like, maybe our kids will invent the things that, maybe it'll be young people who invent something that brings us to a place better than we could have before. And I was like, invention, you love invention, I love invention. We've been going, what if there's a secret society of inventors that dates all the way back to Daedalus, this mythical one, and they've all been protecting the secret machine. And it falls into the hands of someone built in the DNA of kind of like the way our kids are. His child, his teenager, my teenager, they're both kind of into nerdy stuff, a little bit on the outside, that stuff. So it was like, and that's how it came about. So it was like building it about trying to create a book that really captured the spirit and the joy of invention as something that brings us together and is about finding better ways collectively to a place that is far more optimistic than the moment we're in. So it's fun, they're all personal that way. Like, that's why I can go on and on and on because I get excited about each one when we talk about them because I love them,
Right. Well, you have this extensive history of doing these superhero comic books. How is it different writing your Comixology originals than it is doing your superhero comics?
I mean, that's a good one too. I mean, they're kind of inversions. Like working on Batman, it's like everybody knows everything about Batman. Plenty of people know more than me, right? They know Gotham and the history of it and everything. And so you're kind of going in there trying to speak to your hopes and fears through this character. And the way I always approached it was to say, everything exists. Everybody already knows it better than me. Like, all I can do is go in there and be like, Batman made me brave as a kid in the face of certain things. What do I want him to make me brave in the face of now for my kids and that? Just go in and do that. But they already love everything else, and you're kind of coming into this whole built thing and just proving that you have something to say. When you do creator-owned, nothing's built. It's all just, and there's an excitement with readers coming in wanting to grow it with you. So in that way, they almost kind of feel opposite. And I've always loved them as a balance to each other. I love working the math of DC, coming in and being like, Superman, Lois Lane, what's a great adventure with Lex Luthor, how can we do something cool? Or over here, doing at the same time, getting away from that and saying, now how can I build something that nobody knows better than me? It's all about me and a co-creator making something that is a brand new universe just for us and fans to experience from ground up.
Okay. Well, I think we have time for one more question.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you the question everyone wants to know. You recently tweeted a picture alongside DC's editor-in-chief, Marie J. Is there any chance of you returning to the DC universe at some point in the near future?
Oh, I would happily return. I mean, Marie is one of my best friends. You know, Marie, I can't say enough good things about her. And the thing is, like, I think they're doing great stuff right now, and that universe is in really good hands with Josh Williamson and Tom King and Tom Taylor. And so many, people there that are just killing it around V and, on and on and on, Becky Kluman. Yes, like I would definitely return and do something if the right project presented itself. And they always keep me in the loop. And there's like a plan in place in some way for a spot to kind of do something really big that connects to what's going on. If the opportunity and the time is right, meaning there's no definite plan to say I'm coming back at this point and this is what I'm going to do, but I'd happily go back anytime if our paths crossed, right? And I could help or do something that people would be excited about both there and the fandom. But the one thing I don't want to do is like go back and step on anyone's toes or do anything that's gonna get in the way of all the great stuff that's coming out now. Because I think I had my turn, to do everything I wanted, like from universe expanding stuff to like tiny stuff. And it's nice to see new voices coming in and changing what was there and building new stuff. And, so I kind of like, I get to just be a fan, right now and cheer it on and be like, Marie, I love you. Everything's great, But yeah, I mean, I love them. I certainly plan on going back at some point to do licensed stuff there. I'd love to go with Marvel one day. So yeah, it's not like I'm gone to creator own forever, but I really hope people, and luckily they seem to be, will follow us over here and see what we're doing, because there's no real like celebrating this is celebrating that. We're all in it together in comics right now, It's not like Marvel DC or indie or Marvel versus DC. I think the pandemic taught us that, and especially like being here and seeing all these people, like I don't know if I'm getting old in my like sentimental in my old age, but this con has felt special about looking out and seeing so many people you love, fans and creators, celebrating this medium that we all are a part of, whether you're making a tiny webcomic out there and you're just starting, or you're running the DC event, we're all comics, you know what I mean? And it's nice to have a moment and a space to say we all love each other, and there is no real competition that way, like, in little ways, but ultimately we're all part of an industry that needs each other, and the bigger and the brighter and the kind of more diverse it gets, and always the better. And you see that happening, and it makes me happy. So yeah, it's been a good. I got all choked up a couple times this con, and I was like, I'm not even drinking. I don't even know what's going on here. So I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. It has been an honor and a privilege to talk to you. I hope you enjoyed the con this year. Once again, this is Dion Bickham with CBR coming to you from San Diego Comic-Con 2022 with the extraordinary Scott Snyder. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. It's great to see you guys. Thanks, CBR. You guys have been supportive of us, me, since I remember my first interview with you guys, and I can't thank you enough for being there with us the whole time, man. It's an honor and a thrill to get to talk to you. So I appreciate it.